Okay, so for coordinate geometry, we need to make sure that we memorize these results. Okay, so that's the result for gradient of line joining 2 points, where we define each of the points in terms of the coordinates here, so x1, y1, x2, y2, so that will be the gradient there. If we've got two lines which are perpendicular, right angles to each other, we can use this result. That's the equation of a straight line. Distance between 2 points, we use Pythagoras there. Okay, so we need to remember that one. And then the midpoint then of 2 points, it's kind of like looking at the average, isn't it, to get the middle there. Okay, so when we look at this starter 1 here, this first question, okay, we've got 2 points on the grid here. It's not drawn to scale or anything, okay, so we only want to use this really just to help us visualize, to see what these 2 points on the grid, and help us then to answer these questions. So with A, it says determine the length of AB. So I've written down the formula for length already, okay, and it's up to you then to identify, perhaps we'll call this one x1, y1, okay, so that will be our coordinate number 1, so to speak, and then this will be my x2, y2, okay, so that will be my coordinate number 2, and you literally then need to substitute those values in. Okay, so we'll have so my x2 is 3, and you need to take away, it says x1, and the x1 happens to be -1, so we're going to have -1 there, and you'll notice there's 2 negatives there. Okay, that's going to happen occasionally. And then y2, which is -5, take away y1, which is 7. Okay, so if you work that out on your calculator, literally type that in, okay, as it is, you end up having 4√10, okay, that's what it'll simplify to be. And leave it like that, leave it in third form, okay, you found the distance there. Then it says determine the midpoint of AB. So remember the formula for midpoint, so I use capital M for that, is just to add the x values together and divide by 2, okay. And the same then for the y coordinate, add the y values together, divide by 2. That's how you find sort of the average of 2 values, isn't it? Add them up, divide by 2. So in this case, we've got, let's do x1 first then, so -1, add then x2, which is 3, share that by 2, and then y1, which is 7, add then y2, which is -5, divide that by 2. So again, you know, you use your calculator on this, you get 1 there, okay. Plus minus, of course, becomes just a minus, so on your calculator you could type 7 minus 5, okay, all over 2, which also comes out to be 1. So there's our midpoint there, okay, 1, 1. Then it says find the gradient of AB, the slope of AB here. Now when you look at the diagram here, you could see sloping downwards, so we're going to expect a negative answer, alright? But let's remember the formula for it, okay, quite simply is y2 take away y1, so that's looking at like the difference in y's, and then x2 take away x1, so the difference in x's, so that's the gradient, isn't it? It's how y changes on top and then how x changes on bottom, okay? So y2 is -5, take away y1, which is 7, x2, which is 3, take away x1, which is -1. Okay, so again, type that into your calculator and you get out -3. We expected it to be minus because it's sloping downwards. Determine, then, says the equation of the perpendicular bisector of AB. Okay, so these terms here you'd be familiar with from GCSE. You've heard this before, right? Perpendicular bisector. The word bisector there just means sort of midway, okay? It literally means cut in half, okay? So for AB, if you cut it in half, I mean, you know, let's try and get a sort of realistic viewpoint here. Okay, so if I cut that in half, it's about there. Okay, so the perpendicular bisector literally will go through the midpoint of AB, and because it's perpendicular, it's going to be at right angles. Okay, so that's got to be 90 degrees there. Okay, so that's what they want. They want the equation. So remember the equation formula? Do you remember the formula was y minus y1 equals mx minus x1? Okay, and for you to get an equation, you need two things. You need a point on the line, okay, for your x1, y1. Now think, have we already got a point on that line? Of course, we've got this point here, because that point there, remember, is the midpoint of AB. We've already worked that out. 1, 1. And we also need m, the gradient. Now, can we work out the gradient? Well, yeah, we can, because we've got the gradient of AB. Remember, this line is perpendicular to AB, so we can use the result. m1, m2 is minus 1. So we know the gradient of AB is minus 3. So minus 3 times m2 is minus 1. So that means then, if you take that minus 3 over, you get minus 1. Take the minus 3 over and divide over minus 3, which is a third. So this will be the gradient of the perpendicular. We often call it the normal, don't we? Okay. Yeah. When we think about tangents and normals, it's the gradient of the perpendicular. Okay. So the equation then, y minus y1 is mx minus x1. Okay. So we put the point in. So the point will be 1. The gradient is a third. Minus and the minus, remember, becomes a plus. And the x1 is 1. Now when you've got this then, what I would do is take that 3 over and multiply. Take the 3 over, create a bracket there, so you end up having 3y minus 3 equals, and then times through by 1, x minus 1. And there you've got your result. Okay, so we can write that then as x minus 3y plus 2 equals 0. You can get everything to one side and you've got your answer.